Intro.
This is Perfecting Perspectives. Real conversations about faith, wellness, and community. Whole on purpose. Together by design. The place.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, family.
Listen, we're back and we're so excited for another episode of Perfecting Perspectives podcast. Listen, I just want to tell you, if you noticed, we have done what we said. Okay, maybe you need to review what we said. I think just now you got to watch an amazing intro. Did you see that? Did you see the amazing intro? Okay.
We're working.
All right. Now look at this. Hold on. Wait. We not only have that, we have, listen, we have the background. Okay. You're not with me yet? Okay. And I also have Lady B with me today. She came back. So
Good to see y'all.
I want to just begin before we get started in our topic today. I want to just kind of catch us up. A weekend review. What has been going on with you this week?
I have been on the road, for the last 7 days. Have been my 9 to 5. I consult with and work with teachers in school districts. So I spent some time in Columbus, Ohio. Then came back and flipped the suitcase out and packed it again and got on the road to Jacksonville to spend some time with our spiritual covering and beloved mentor, Bishop Guns, and enjoyed some time down there. Then stopped back off on the train to South Carolina and spoke for Black History Month and got back here off the Amtrak train for Monday morning in the snow, and you were there to pick me up.
Yay! I showed up. That's
what about
awesome.
you?
So, same thing. I was here kind of navigating life. I had to do the podcast last week by myself. I was trembling and nervous, fearful. But I did have the backdrop. I did have the backdrop. And then joined you. We shot down to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I had the amazing opportunity to be appointed as overseer of Kingdom Fellowship International.
Congratulations.
And as their Secretary General. So that was a major feat. Jumped on back. I had drill. I serve in the Maryland National Guard as a chaplain. And this was my last drill as battalion chaplain of the TASM G. And now I'll be moving in March to be brigade chaplain for the 58th Troop Command. So it was just a heavy-paced weekend of providing spiritual care. And then, we had to pivot. We were supposed to have a Sunday service, but due to the snow, we pivoted and we were in place to pick you up. And so this week so far has been really busy as we prepare to head back out to do some consulting with some churches in South Carolina. So the reality is that kind of leads us to our topic, right?
Yeah.
Our topic today, and you're going to see it on the screen, is when vision outruns capacity. Now, you may think emotional capacity, but I believe in every aspect, right? In every aspect, what happens when the vision of the leader, the vision of the organization runs faster than the capacity of the organization to keep up and provide. I think vision is sacred, right? Vision is the spiritual act of God releasing an assignment to the leader for the work of the leader. But God sees into the future.
Yeah.
So God speaks what will be, which often doesn't match with what is. So when you have a vision without the capacity to execute the vision, it can be a dangerous thing. It can be a dangerous thing.
Yeah, and I think also thinking about it from the woman's lens is not only having to carry a vision, but also thinking about that emotional tie to making sure all the pieces come together and not distributing it equally so that everybody is able, I call it the team of strengths, right? Everybody has their strengths areas that they can operate on. And if we as visionary leaders have done the intentional work to put the team together, then everybody can operate in their area of strengths, and we can also have everybody be their full authentic selves. You know, what is it? It's not fun. I've been in places and spaces where you have the expertise and the skill set to do something, but you find yourself shrinking in those moments because of whoever else is at the table. And it might not necessarily be what you want to do, but because you know the visionary who's been given the assignment, you want to be sure that you're in line and walk accordingly. Now I've kind of pivoted and I've learned how to kind of walk and carry my authentic self with everything that I come with in the room as I am, without being disrespectful or arrogant or anything like that.
You said something major, because the next thing I was about to say was leadership or vision collapses not because of a lack of faith, but oftentimes from a lack of integration. In other words, we carry the vision, and there's something about our leadership style, especially when colonized, that feels we have to critique more than cultivate. Right?
Good.
So we spend a lot of time critiquing what people can't do,
right,
instead of really cultivating gifts,
right,
to make sure that everything planted bears fruit.
Everything planted, and that's the beauty of it, right? Because just like every seed that is planted has a bloom, so is the person that has a skill set. And what would it look like if we are, as leaders, ensuring that each and every person is bloomed where they're planted?
Woo. Hold on, wait, we got to pause. I need the audience to pay attention to this. I need you to tag some leaders, right? I need you to tag some leaders, because we're going to talk about leadership. But I also want to know from the crowd response in the chat, how many times have you sat in a room and your skill set has been overlooked for something that was being presented as part of the vision, right? They only see you as this, and they fail to fully accept that you bring more to the table than your title, than your current position.
Yeah. And it's hard to, I would say as women, it's hard for us to do that sometimes, because it's also often assumed that however you lead, that's almost like your sole or principal skill set, where in the back of my mind I'm like, no, player, I come with several other different things. I can navigate and move and be versatile depending on whatever the need is, but that is not always explored by the most senior leader.
Yeah, because the most senior leader approved your hiring, but they didn't necessarily read your resume.
There you go.
Right? So as a result, they see you in the snapshot of your current status. They don't necessarily know the breadth and width of all you brought to get to this moment. And one of our sister theologians, Katie Cannon, she says expansion must be life affirming and not life draining. And I think for us as women leaders, when we're pulled into these different spaces, we often are drained first by what was assumed that we can do, instead of giving us the opportunity to exercise that set of gifts and being able to navigate, and not necessarily to complete the task in a way that the visionary perceives it, but doing it in a way that still gives us, affirms us as women, but doesn't deplete us emotionally or physically at the same time. That's good. I was going to quote Howard Thurman, Howard Thurman, the mystic and advisor to Martin Luther King Jr., said, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive." So if this Katie Cannon says expansion should be life affirming, then your participation in the vision should activate parts of you that were not present prior to the vision coming.
Yeah, that's good.
So this episode, listen, is not anti-growth. I need you to understand it. This is not anti-growth. This episode is anti-collapse, right? We want to make sure you're not collapsing.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about this idea of personal leadership pressure. Leadership pressure tends to reward momentum, right? It tends to reward momentum. And sometimes part of the problem is that we mistake movement for momentum.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy. And you can see it on the slide. Vision is exciting, but excitement can often hide exhaustion. Right? So when your vision comes to life, one of the dangers is you're so excited that you end up pushing people beyond their capacity, which eventually leads to collapse. Right? Right? Vision can expand externally while we shrink internally. Woo! Listen. Sit with that for a second. Right? Metrics grow, the calendar fills, the audience widens, and somewhere in the movement, the person at the center quietly contracts. Less rested, less present, and less whole. I want you to sit with that for a second, because we have to be careful that in our pushing of vision, in our deciding that this is what God is wanting right now, this is what life needs right now, that we don't lose ourselves in the process.
And I think I can, kind of share from my lens, because you remember when we first started, particularly with planning the church, and you have vision and you want to move, let's get to going, and I found myself retreating because I was like, okay, this is so overwhelming. We got so many moving parts, and I'm not necessarily sure how I wanted to fit, how I needed to be active in the moment with all the different moving parts. And I'm one where if it's too many things on the plate, best believe I'm going to withdraw. Not withdrawing because I can't do it, but it's so much. Where is the map and of getting it done? And if I can't see a pathway through, maybe this is not the task or the assignment for me. And I think so often we as women leaders, we tend to do that. If it becomes too overwhelming, instead of trying to fight for, let me flee, let me fall. What is it we said a few weeks ago? Let me fall back, fawn, or what have you. Not because, again, we have capability and we have capacity, but we just can't really see how we're going to be able to navigate all the things on the table without sacrificing our own selves.
I think what's major to remember in this, right, is this fact that sometimes there is a fear that you can't rest once you've struck hot. So once the momentum is going, you feel that if you slow down, you'll lose influence, right? So we end up having a major problem where we have expansion, right? External growth, new roles, new reach, building momentum. It feels like progress, but without the development of the people on the team, you're not developing emotional maturity. You're not developing inner resilience. You're not building capacity of your team to handle the challenges of growth. Right. I think oftentimes we pray for growth, but we don't build during seasons of small beginnings to be prepared for growth. And you're big on this, right? You're always pushing systems. And sometimes we say we don't need the systems yet. Yes, why do we need systems and standard operation procedures for 10 people? And then you wake up one day and it's 100 in the room.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yes.
that then leads to creating instability.
Right.
Because you have all this weight, but you also have cracks in the foundation.
Yeah.
Because you didn't firm it up before the growth came.
That's so true. And I think also with those systems, right? We as women, I think most of us, and I'm overgeneralizing, have this attention to detail and wanting to ask questions, but sometimes that examination comes off as critique and judgment and not asking for clarity so that we can use wisdom. And I think when we think about how we navigate with vision, getting comfortable with asking questions, not to micromanage or to put down, but really thinking through at a deeper level what's really needed. And it's okay because you glean wisdom by asking questions.
Yeah. I was thinking about some real life examples. Right? So I was think about these startups or these new businesses. We have a lot of them in the DMV that spend a lot of money on this amazing launch. They spend a lot of effort in social media advertising.
Yeah.
But they only can last 6 months to 9 months because they don't build the capacity to sustain the business. Right? They have a great idea. They launch out strong. They make the big announcement, but they don't shift. They don't reflect. They may not evaluate. And after the thrill is gone, right? After people come, because here's the other piece. Maybe you had great social media, but you had a bad product. Or maybe you had great social media, it got people to order, but you only had 6 on hand.
Right.
So then you had to wait 3 months for new stuff to be produced, and people don't like to wait.
Right. Or could it be, because I work the customer success of it during my 9 to 5, my day to day, and I'm responsible for ensuring after the launch, after the implementation, how are we sustaining and building capacity? And I think we, as these new businesses are being born and birthed and executed, that's the follow-up piece I think that's missing or that could be worked on. Is that if you're a service provider and you provide a service, are you getting feedback? And we're scared of feedback, me included, right? You're like, oh, I don't want to hear what they're going to say, but that feedback is so needed because you don't want to keep creating and doing what you think your customers need or your members need or your, whatever kind of organization is. You want to be able to get the feedback and let them speak to you about what they need. And that's how you build capacity. That's that customer success life cycle. And we're dying out early because we're not completing that full life cycle of really meeting people out where they are and really servicing the entire product or service.
You mentioned this amazing thing about feedback.
Feedback loops.
Feedback loops are essential, but you're right, they're not wanted because amazingly, the people that produce the product think they've already figured it all out.
Right.
So they oftentimes, churches, businesses included, they create a product for themselves, but don't necessarily consider the customer. Or they build a product or offering for a particular customer, but aren't ready for the other outliers that show up.
Exactly.
And they don't necessarily want to hear the feedback because that may mean or they have to make adjustments. Right.
And how quick are we to say, I'm going to stick with what I want to do because this is what I want to do? Or perhaps you're being presented with the opportunity to provide something different, but you don't have that skill set, and we don't want to partner and bring other people in who can help us move along because we have this kind of singular solo lens. Do we have any comments from our viewers?
No comments yet.
Oh, okay.
They're just watching and soaking it all in, but that's fine. They'll join in when they feel comfortable, right? Bell Hook says, and this goes to this other point, right? Because again, when you don't have capacity, you could end up burning yourself out.
Yeah.
And you talked about fight, flight, flee, and fawn, right? Or flex. But the reality is many times the hurt of ego that comes from receiving the feedback pushes leaders into isolation.
Yeah.
And Bell Hooks says, rarely, if ever, are there any of us healed in isolation. Healing is an act of communion. I would dare say community.
Yeah.
So we talked about the problem a little bit, right?
Yep.
And we really got into that. But how does vision outrun capacity? So vision outruns capacity, I think. One way is when we suppress grief after growth. Right? We suppress grief. The reality is, even with growth, there is grief.
Yeah.
When you think about how your life has to change as a result of growing, I think about professional ball players that end up signing a contract, going into a new tax bracket, and have to grieve leaving some of the relationships and people behind because they can't be who they are becoming and who they have been at the same time.
Right. Or it could be, those of us who are now empty nesters and may have children that are a little further along and older than some of our friends who are still in those school age bearing years, and you're having to grieve because what communication and friendship look like in one season doesn't necessarily look at it like it does in the next season. And so you have that grief of, wow, things are changed, not because you necessarily want it, it's just life. Or what about us as sandwich generation folks, where we are not only grieving our children growing, we're also grieving the fact that our parents are getting older and we're having to take on responsibility. We were just at home with my parents this weekend, and my dad said, "You know what? I'm tired." And I told you, I said, I feel a little weight, because my dad's one of those type people. He's always in the yard, and now he's saying, "I just can't do it anymore." And I'm just like, okay, wow. Something else to kind of consider. So grief can look so many different ways, and how we handle it, I think, is important. But we also have to remember that if we don't take care of that grief, it can turn into a groan. It can turn into so many different things, and we don't want it to negatively impact what we have going on.
I think another way that vision outruns capacity, and it goes back to what we were talking about with feedback, is we ignore resentment in team members, right? So they're making suggestions, we're thinking they're attacking, we get mad. We don't even want to hear their feedback because it always seems so negative. And that may not be the case. That may just be the only way they know how to express it. Yeah. So have we taught, that's good. Have we taught the people we engage with about how to possibly give feedback, right? I think that's good. How do we teach people how? We talk about have you taught your spouse how to love you? Do we teach the people we work with how you receive constructive feedback? Right? I think another thing also on the screen, right? Look, suppressing anxiety, performing calm while internal tension quietly builds. Right? Or presenting calm, performing calmly, right? Well, how do we we're up there trying to present like things are together, but we're falling apart on the inside.
Yeah. Or behind the scenes.
Yeah. You hear about those couples that show up and present a public face in front of the congregation, but then go to sleep in separate houses.
And you're like, what?
Yeah. What do you mean? I'm not I'm not Barney and Betty, and I'm not Fred and Wilma. I'm not doing that, right?
Yeah.
I think another thing, right? We expand without debrief cycles.
Yes. That's part of the feedback loop.
That's part of the feedback
I think.
loop. But I think it's important to know when we do it, right? There's continuous feedback.
Yes.
But I think there's also periodic after event feedback that should be done in a debrief style.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because we all see things from different perspectives based on how we experience life. So what you may see and pick up, I may not have seen that because I'm looking for something totally different. But how powerful is it to have all of those perspectives in the room at the table for this one said event or thing that's going on, and being able to leverage all of that for growth, and how that impacts the vision, because that's the fuel for the vision to keep being expanded or being implemented properly.
That's good. Put that slide up one more time, because I think we really missed like two, but I wanna hit this one. One way you know that vision is outgrowing or outpacing capacity is when we treat exhaustion as noble, right? When we honor exhaustion and tell people you ain't tired yet. You can't be tired yet. We just started. When the reality is, it requires rest to sustain momentum.
Yes, say that again.
It requires rest. Burning the candles at both ends is antithetical to success.
And if you have the systems in place where everybody, again, team of strengths, where everybody has, I call it kind of the lane, the highway lane. Everybody got their own lane, but we're all on the highway together. Then that means that everybody should have time to get rest and come back and ready and recharged to keep going. But if we're all working on the same thing, we're overlapping, we're duplicating efforts, we don't have clear and transparent communication, it can go haywire. There many accidents can be had.
That's it.
If you don't have those systems properly in place and operationalized.
Yeah, I think it's the idea of churches launching campuses without having a proper leadership pipeline.
Oh yeah.
Or families taking on new responsibilities without redistributing labor.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that we try to do that every so often as things change, having that communication to say, hey, okay, this is what's coming. I'm not necessarily sure how it's going to impact us. Let's kind of talk through. I'm always one to kind of have thought about it already and propose a plan, because I know that's how you kind of work. You need to hear, okay, solution focused. I want to hear the situation, but I also want to hear the solution, because if I don't come with a solution, it's like you check out.
Oh, that's good. But I think solution focus should be something that's taught as part of the feedback loop as well.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right? I think oftentimes in our debriefs and in our feedback sessions, most times it's so easy. I mean, and this is not just in debriefs. This is in any public meeting or public gathering. It's always easy to get crowd opinion about the problem, but it is rarely matched with the same intensity about the solution. People often give they could spend 3 days telling you what's wrong. Romanticizing what's wrong. They want their chance at the mic to tell you about if there was a curfew or these kids are just, they want that opportunity, but they don't.
What's the solution? Bring a solution to the table, and that might be an accountability thing. I seem like it was one of my previous managers. That was one of the things that was a requirement. If you're coming to the table with a critique, you also have to come with a possible solution. It couldn't just be giving the feedback only. Bring a solution when you come. So that kept us accountable to be thinking and not just analyzing or examining.
Yeah, I think oftentimes it's not the ability to build it, right? Anybody can build it, but it's the ability to carry what you have built. It's the ability to sustain and keep going and keep going. So W.E.B. Du Bois says the cost of liberty is less than the price of repression, right? I think if we put that in our terms, the cost of healthy growth is less than the price of collapse. And I think sometimes we don't invest enough in healthy growth, in proper application and implementation of vision. And then we complain about why it doesn't work.
Right. But in those in those growth seasons, we also have to have a metric. And I think that's the part that's missing. So while we're growing, how are we measuring our growth? How are we checking in? And what are the triggers or the flags that we're looking for so that we can triage and intervene as we continue to grow?
So there must be continuous improvement as part of your growth plan.
Yes.
There has to also be periodic cycles of review.
Yeah.
Right? So you're thinking about a strategic plan with an action plan with dates of measure, right? Specific dates, toll gates or whatever you want to call them, where you check your progress. And then you don't have to wait till the end. See, oftentimes we put something in place and we wait till the end and then we wonder why it didn't work, but it's too late then.
Right. I think one of the things that I brought home from work some years ago was this whole idea of the lightning rod, where you or some people call it the water cooler feedback loop, where it's 1 minute, 2 to 5 minutes where you're standing with your team or standing with family or whatever you're talking about to give, okay, how do you guys think this went? So everybody can be engaged because they know it's only going to be a short amount of time and we can come to a solution efficiently versus waiting and trying to hold all this cognitive load until the end when all of us done months later, and then now you want me to remember what happened 3 months ago instead of having those periodic, like we said, those lightning rod check-ins or feedback loops where you're able to tap in as you continuously improve and grow so that growth won't be stunted.
Yeah, while we were in Florida, there was a panel between Bishop Guns and his brother, Dr. Jeffrey Guns. And Dr. Jeffrey Guns said this amazing thing, and I need you to listen to me, right? Dr. Guns says, listen, it's hard for us to do debriefs and feedback because we wait too long and the moment becomes a memory instead of being fresh in our mind. So because it's not fresh in our mind where we can really be accurate about what went on, we end up trying to retell the story from our memory. And think about all the things that have happened since we left Florida. There's no way we can accurately give if we didn't do it right on the spot. That's why in the military, right, we do AARs, after action reports, immediately after something. At the end of the event, we sit around and we talk about what works, what needs to be improves and sustains, right? What needs to be improved, what can be sustained, right? Real fast, give me your top 3, we write it up, and we catalog it, because the other piece about feedback is if you don't use the feedback from the last program when planning the next program, you not only wasted time, but you're probably going to repeat the same errors.
We just having a conversation.
Yeah, we just having a conversation. Yeah, we didn't.
It wasn't meaningful.
It didn't. It wasn't. We weren't planning on using none of this.
We just wanted to check the box.
Just to say we checked the box.
Right. So compliance, check the box, versus transformation. You got to do something. You remember, I think I said this when we were together, and that just reminded me, I need to send those quotes out, the William Robinson, if you're looking, I just remembered, right? Change is just reestablishing what's already here. Transformation, you're going to change the future. Are we having conversations that have measure that we're thinking about what impact the future, or are we saying we had a conversation to check the box?
Check the box. And too many of our feedback loops are just check the box. Yeah. Right? So think about it. And let's go Black church. We know Black church and vision culture. Right? So historically, growth meant safety. So survival growth was born from necessity and urgency. It was vital and honored the legacy of resilience. Right? Now, mega vision language, this mega vision has this language of next level of overflow or increase, language that can inspire, but also exhaust. The overwhelming perspective is if you try to get to overflow when you don't have a well, where is it coming from?
Nowhere.
Right? When you're trying to get to increase, but you don't even have a budget, right? You ain't got no savings.
Yeah.
Where's the increase coming from?
Yeah.
So then to live up to the mega language, you got to hook a crook a scheme to make, and then lean on God for this miracle to come.
Yeah, and that's right.
But we're really trying to go from survival growth and meta-vision language to sustainable growth.
Yeah.
Right? Growth that is rooted in emotional and spiritual integration, growth that can be carried, that can be sustained, that can be maintained. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Howard Thurman says, and I love Howard Thurman, it's part of my meditation every day. Mm-hmm. He says, there's something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. In other words, growth must remain genuine, right? So vision cannot be anchored in comparison.
Woo!
Right? Because if vision is anchored in comparison, you won't get to where God wants you to go. You'll end up trying to go and lean into the lane of where God is taking someone else. Right? So vision was purpose for you, and you must be so in tune that you don't allow what other people are doing to influence you and cause you to cancel your vision to stay valid with them.
Competition makes the competition that could occur can make the vision a victim.
Yeah, it could make the vision a victim, or it could corrupt the vision. Right. Comparison and competition can corrupt the vision, because the vision is given to the leader. Yeah. And that means the leader must be secure, but that also means that the people who are sharing in leadership roles under that leader must believe so much in the vision that they don't allow their vision, right, or what they're seeing in their periphery to try to co-opt the vision that is given.
I think that's why leadership development is so important. Seems like with the onset of all of these solopreneur business model, right? Everybody has, for life, just life has changed in the last 3 to 4 years. So many of us, me included, are doing our businesses, leading solo, even though we may have some partners in some certain ways, but we still have to develop those who are working with us, right? Because you have to develop them towards the vision that you're serving at the moment. And some of us are serving multiple visions, but how are we developing those that are serving with us to be able to help us meet that particular vision?
And I think it's the misconception. So I really follow content creators, right? I follow content creators, especially the ones that do wild skits and stuff. But what I've learned recently is that while they seem to be solopreneurs, they have learned the value of partnerships.
Oh, yeah.
So they come together in content houses, and you see them infiltrating each other's skits, right? Partnering, because as they partner, they get their followers plus somebody else's followers plus new followers. It increases their revenue.
Exactly.
And then it spirals them out to be able to do even more things collectively.
But when we look at that, you mentioned, because I think in this segment we're kind of talking about the Black church and our pastors and things. That's not that method I don't see that method really being used, because everybody really pastors want to have their own platform for their people. This cross pollination doesn't occur. Do you think?
I think where it doesn't occur is the privacy. I like to use that word, privacy. I think it's privacy, but it's privacy. The privacy of people's pulpits, right? But I also know that a lot of the people we revere in church culture developed their status through the sharing of ideas and the sharing of giftings within their. So So there are some, and I tell my cohort this. I'm in a cohort. You see, I got my Hampton shirt off.
Yeah, he wearing all his
the real
today.
AU, right? But I'm in a cohort at Hampton, but I was also in a cohort at Virginia Union. And what I said was, we need to start celebrating and pushing each other's gifts.
Yeah.
Right? I said, we talked about this at the table when we were in Florida with KFI. Like, within our circles, we have the best and brightest that know they may not be on the main stage, but it's not because they're not as gifted, they just haven't had the chance.
Yeah.
And so it's up to us to start using our people to promote and then hold them accountable by saying, if you're coming to me, that means I'm trusting that you're going to bring me your best, your brightest. You're not going to bring me a horse. You're not going to bring me a warmed up over. So you're going to do some fresh work because I want the world to see your brilliance.
Yeah. And I think this also can apply to even family systems, right? I think one of the most powerful things that we are doing now with our family of young adult children is really thinking about their own personal strengths and how we can grow them individually based on our formation and our training and all the things that we've been able to do, so that they can be, they have the legacy of being better versions of their parents, right? So really being able to really personalize what that leadership development looks like.
Yeah, growth, and we're gonna look at this wellness checkpoint because we got to get out of here. This capacity inventory, but growth should increase support before increasing responsibility. Right. So listen to me say. Let me say that again. Growth should increase support before increasing responsibility.
And then you must metabolize growth emotionally and not just celebrate it publicly.
Yeah. So when responsibility feels heavier than 6 months ago, it may not be laziness. It may be the accumulated emotional weight.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that I'm not on fire anymore.
Right.
It's just that now that we are public, now that we are getting this traction, it's requiring a lot more effort and energy. So I'm not dragging, I'm just carrying a lot more than I was.
Right. And so that means that we have to remember that emotional integration, it requires us to stop and reflect. I'm a big reflector. Ever since I was in the classroom and was able to work with teachers, I stop and reflect on how did that go. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about the different vision and working with teams and debriefing and feedback loops. Reflecting is important. Realizing that even our wins, even our success requires processing. Why did we win? Well, what made that actually work so that we can continue to do that which was successful? And then looking at the fact that joy can overwhelm our nervous system too.
Yeah.
How often is it? It's because we're so ready and waiting for this shoe to drop that we can't even enjoy when it's good. We can't have that internal joy, not happiness, but that internal joy of, wow, this really is going good. I'm really enjoying it, and embracing that it feels good to be there. So we've got to remember, like I was telling the congregation in South Carolina on Sunday, grief and gratitude can exist at the same time. Tears and songs can be experienced or had at the same time. And we're so often we're told we have to give one up and use one, but they can coexist. How do we navigate that at the same time for continued growth towards vision?
Yeah. Dr. Tima Bryant, noted psychologist, former first Black female president of the American Psychological Association, says trauma is not just what happens to you, it's what happens inside of you. So you got to remember that rapid growth, though it's a celebratory moment, can create internal disorganization.
Yeah.
I mean, you never had to operate with a calendar before. Right? You could always just keep your task in your mind. And now you find yourself, like me, forgetting appointments.
Forgetting an appointment
because I never put it in my calendar. Right? So you have to understand that, first of all, yes, emotional wellness. Right? Where are you living right now? Are you emotionally well? Do you have the capacity to feel, process, and move through full range of human experience without suppressing or numbing.
For intellectual wellness, your capacity for curiosity. Again, I'm talking about that reflection and continued growth. How do you understand yourself, and how do you understand yourself within the world? Both and.
Then there's occupational wellness, right? This alignment between your work, your values, and the energy required to sustain it over time.
And then finally, we have our spiritual wellness, your rootedness in purpose, meaning, and the practices that reconnect you to what is most true, and that is our God.
Yeah. So Bell Hooks says, love is a combination of care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, and trust. So vision without care is not love.
Right. That's so good.
So no major vision moves without first an emotional check, a relational check, a financial check, and a structural check. You know, we're whole on purpose. We're together by design, which means we scale capacity before we scale vision.
Yeah, that's good. And that means we also check in with each other to ensure that we are emotionally aligned. And we also allow each other to have that vulnerability to be able to say, look, you know, this is what I'm working on. I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable with it. I need you to co-lead, co-help, collaborate, coordinate, all those co's with us, right? Being able to do it so that it's not only the shared workload, but it's the shared emotional truth. We're walking this thing out together, step by step, at every juncture.
To make sure that you are always your whole self.
Yeah, that's right? Good.
Maya Angelou says, you may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. Growth should never reduce us internally. How can you grow and shrink at the same time? Right? So let's wrap this thing up, right? We got about 6 more minutes, 7 more minutes, right? I need you, first of all, to know, for those who are watching and are applying this to your life, you are not weak if growth feels heavy. Yeah. Right? You're not weak. You just have to reassess what you're carrying, because if you're growing, that means there's more. And so the same way you used to do life, you can no longer do life, especially when your plate becomes more full or heavier, right? I'm now, as we're trying to navigate all the moving pieces, we're finding that the frivolities we used to experience, being able to sit and watch 7 episodes of Cagney and Lacey undisturbed, we can't do that anymore. No. Right? We can't binge watch shows. We're barely trying to get through Lincoln Lawyer 1 episode at a time while other people have watched the whole thing. Yeah. We must make adjustments. Right. And you must make adjustments.
I think it's so very important that we ensure and we stress that you don't have to put on or perform before the foundation is set, right? It's more important to be whole than to perform, right? And being able to not only be whole or becoming whole, but also being able to be safe, being psychologically safe in the spaces that you're in, that you set those boundaries, because as you build, as you grow, as you scale, you want to be able to be in places that your whole self can carry it. Otherwise, you're doing that damage in different in wellness areas. So being able to not only scale with capacity, but scale with capacity with the vision in mind in healthy ways.
So maybe it's not that you're tired, and as you're scaling capacity, maybe it's the fact you need to start integrating some more. Yeah. Maybe you're at the point where this is not a one-person show anymore. Maybe you need to start identifying the gifts of your team and being strength focused. Start leaning on people who you know won't let you down.
Absolutely.
Right? Because sometimes we lean on people closest to us, but they don't have the capacity. Then we withdraw and take it on ourselves saying nobody else can help us. When the reality is, it's not that people aren't there to help. It's just you chose the wrong person because you didn't take the time to really look at what they could do.
Yeah.
So you set them up for failure from the beginning.
Yeah. And that's not fair to yourself, your vision, or the team, or even that person. Mm-hmm. And so as we end our time together, we want you to remember that we are, that wholeness is on purpose. We're continuing to be together by design. Look, we're already navigating.
We got time.
We got time.
You cutting off.
Oh, I thought we were already moving through that. We were navigating them, and see how we got off on the vision. Let's come back together.
Yeah, we gotta get back together. Lord, right? So if you know, for the Perfecting Place, our theme is a community under construction.
Yeah.
So let's look at it from a construction standpoint. When we think about vision outpacing capacity, you don't decorate before the foundation is laid, right? You don't inhabit what is not structurally safe. So that means you got to be deliberate about taking the time necessary to ensure the pieces in place. Here's the thing: the vision is for an appointed time. That's what Habakkuk says, right? It will come. It will come. But what could happen in our angst, in our impatience, is we could prematurely put pieces in place with no structure to hold them.
Yeah. And those pieces can fall out of place fast.
Yeah.
If we're not being looking at the metrics and having those feedback loops based on what we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Vision should stretch you, but it should never shatter you.
That's good.
Right.
Yeah.
It shouldn't break you, because it is given to one who God is aware has the ability.
Right.
Even if they have yet to have the capacity.
Right. And in that growing, that capacity is there staying with it. Sometimes we don't stay with things long enough to really see fruition. We feel like, if I failed the first time, second time, third time, then it's not meant. But sometimes, what is the metric? Again, what are you measuring it against? Because if God has given you the vision, if God has given you the assignment, and you have the capacity, then you got to look at, is this me looking at myself in negative ways, or are there some areas that I need to address that I necessarily haven't paid attention to? Again, with not only the feedback, but that self-reflection. And so knowing that growth is not proof of wholeness, momentum is not proof of maturity, and expansion is not proof of integration.
Sometimes the very thing we've prayed for becomes heavy because we have not paused long enough to strengthen the foundation.
You are not weak if growth feels heavy. You are not faithless if expansion feels overwhelming. You may simply need space to integrate what you've already built.
Vision is sacred, but vision must be supported by emotional clarity, relational safety, and structural wisdom.
So wholeness is not perfection. Wholeness is integration.
And integration takes time. Wholeness is on purpose. Togetherness is by design. Grace and peace to you.
Peace. See you next week.
See you next week. Check out our outro. Check out our outro video. Wait for it. It's about to come on. Y'all have a good one.
Bye-bye, family.
Thanks for listening. Healing happens in the community. We are glad you're here. Ooh.